Hello, this is Brian Scuttle of Sonic Cinema. These are some brief thoughts after my second time watching Edgar Wright's The Sparks Brothers, this time in preparation for its June 18th release. One of the things that was so striking about the Sparks Brothers when I saw it at Sundance this year was the fact that it felt, even though it's a documentary and even though it adheres to the form of a documentary, it ultimately feels very much like an Edgar Wright film. And that's one of the interesting things when you have featured filmmakers like him, like Scorsese, like Spike Lee, moving into the documentary format, because of the fact that you do see a bit of their personal aesthetic and their personal interests come through in the film. And I think you really do get that with the Sparks Brothers. And rewatching it, I think the thing that is so remarkable about his movie, which is highly entertaining and it's worth watching in and of itself, just as an experience, even if you're not familiar with Sparks, which I really wasn't, outside of their song Music That You Can Dance To being used in Rad, Hal Needham's film in 1986. The thing that's so surprising is that they've been able to sustain a career over decades, over 4 or 5 decades, without really being as successful as names like the Grateful Dead or Springsteen or the Rolling Stones or Bob Dylan. But they're really as influential to a lot of artists that you see now, based on what they did and the way that they approached their art, and the fact that they were always not afraid to reinvent themselves. And that's one of the things that's one of the most pleasantly engaging things about the Sparks Brothers, apart from the fact that Russell and Ron Mael are just fascinating to watch, and they have a natural chemistry with one another and with the camera, to where you feel like you feel like you get to know these two while also really not knowing a whole lot about these two. It's really a surprising dynamic, and it's really a fascinating thing to watch. And the movie, upon rewatch, really felt like, and this is not a knock at the film or the Sparks Brothers whatsoever, it felt a little bit like This Is Spinal Tap, which, I mean, obviously is a great mockumentary, but it basically created a band that didn't exist at the time. Now, I mean, Sparks completely has existed for decades, and I love the way that Edgar Wright uses animation. He uses archival footage, which we're familiar with a lot of the techniques they uses to tell the story of Sparks. And I mean, even something as simple as having the interview segments in black and white adds a mystique to the film and to Sparks that is really, it feels like something out of a different time. Really, it feels like a classic approach at a documentary, but it also feels like it's another part of the way that Edgar Wright is helping with Russell and Ron to sort of poke fun at the audience at watching this documentary as well. And it's you do feel like they're all in on a joke that they're sort of letting you in on over the course of 2 hours and 20 minutes. I just really love this documentary. It's such a fun documentary. It's one that I think it's one that, even though it's very much in the form of a documentary, I think it's one that'll play very well in the theater. Not in the same way that something like Summer of Soul, which is also coming out this summer, is going to play in a theater. That's going to play very differently and be successful for a very different reason. But I think with the Sparks Brothers, I think you can. It feels like escapism. It feels like an escape from our reality into the world of Sparks, and that's ultimately the great thing that Edgar Wright is able to accomplish in this film. It's one of the reasons why it's so entertaining, and one of the reasons why it was one of my favorite films coming out of the Sundance Film Festival. And I was very grateful to have the opportunity to see it again in front of its release, and I really enjoyed it as much the second time, if not maybe a bit more so. So, thank you very much for listening to these thoughts on the Sparks Brothers. Check it out in the theaters. It's well worth watching. And this is Brian Scuttle of Sonic Cinema. Thank you.